Hello, and welcome to What's Next Wall Street. I'm George Alfredas.
And I'm Dave Mathews. Now, this is a show about stocks, crypto, and the new decentralized financial Web3 world around us. That's easy for me to say.
I know, right? I've got details on all the hot new trending products that everybody's talking about using and investing in. And this week, I'm taking you back, way back into time. We're digging in the crates. This is totally lost on people who are not fans of old school hip hop. So how about I just say that I'm talking old school investments versus new school investments?
Oh, yeah, way back. And along that topic, we're going to show you how an old school phone hacker who told Congress that he was able to take down the internet then became an inventor and was given a bounty to crack a locked crypto wallet that contained $2 million for the guy who forgot his password.
Wow. Of course, we've got Greg Krause, lead instructor at OptionsPlayers.com, is our expert. So Greg charts a lot of these companies, and those chart indicators can show where a particular stock is headed so that it's easier to target investment potential. So what Greg does is he combines technical analysis with fundamental knowledge.
And all this is to help you become an informed trader with a tailored trade plan so that you can stay up to speed with what's next on Wall Street and stack some financial gains.
That's right. You can email us at OptionsPlayers.com, or you can hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street with your questions. We can also direct you over to instructors and experts over at OptionsPlayers.com. What they do is dig into those trading fundamentals.
You can watch this episode on the Options Players YouTube channel or listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So listen. Whether you're listening to the podcast or watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button so that you always know what's next on Wall Street. And don't be stingy with your little likes and your stars. We're like fine hotel, fine wine, like we're like 5 stars, please.
So it looks like drivers are eager to take Ford's latest pickup truck for a drive. The company revealed that pre-orders for the Maverick are now closed, at least for now. Now, Ford is at its limit on how many it can build. However, the restriction only applies to retail orders and not commercial. The Maverick made its debut last fall and was promoted as a more affordable choice for a pickup, which has a starting price tag of just around $20,000.
Wow.
Ford says it'll resume retail orders again this summer. Now, Ford's planning to increase their investment in electric vehicles as well by an additional 10 to 20 billion. That's right, with a B. This is added on to the 30 billion Ford plan to invest by 2025. So the ICE is out of here.
Oh my
you know
gosh.
what ICE is?
No.
Internal combustion engine.
Oh, what?
Lingo.
What's that?
ICE.
But
the
what's
gas
the
engine.
what's
The gas engine, it's out. Ford's.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Of course. Okay, so if I'd seen that truck for $20,000, I would have bought it for myself. Seriously, people who are in dire need of a vehicle right now are pretty much screwed, and that's putting it lightly. Supply chain issues, inflation, labor shortage, chip shortage. It's a real chip show.
I see what you did there.
I love it. That's my laugh track right there. Okay, but even before the aforementioned issues, car prices were creeping up along with car payments and car debt. So many people are underwater with their cars and their loans. People are now getting 6 or 7 year loans. Some financial experts are warning that if you don't absolutely have to have a new car, don't buy one, even a used car. After all, a car is not really an investment unless it is. Okay, and in that case, you're probably not really worried about a car note or the cost of a car anyway. Now, if you are looking at a car that's an investment, how about the most powerful SUV in the world? That's what Aston Martin calls its new DBX 707. Now, there will only be 5,000 made, and since it takes forever to get any Aston Martin model, you could probably save enough to have it by the time it actually arrives. And by the way, Dave, it's only $235,000. I mean, where's my checkbook?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get one of those.
But who needs a fancy car when you can stay home and play video games? Or wait a minute, I'd rather invest in them.
Right.
Sony is buying video game maker Bungie in a $3.6 billion, again with a B, dollar deal. Now, Bungie's the company behind the games Destiny and Halo.
Yeah.
Bungie was originally acquired by Microsoft in the year 2000, and then it separated from the company in 2007. In a statement, Sony announced Bungie will continue to operate within the company independently. Now, I question for how long, because think about it. Microsoft, in their announcement to buy Activision, which we covered on a prior show, alluded to Microsoft dropping games for the Sony console. So this may be a counteraction to the purchase and a new version of what we would call the console war.
Okay. Well, you could Netflix and chill. Make that Discovery and chill. AT&T is going to spin off Warner Media in an effort to merge its media properties with Discovery Plus. Now, shareholders of AT&T are going to own 71% of the new Warner Brothers Discovery company. Spinning Warner Media is going to allow AT&T to focus on building out its wireless network instead of spending on entertainment to compete with rival streaming services. Now, maybe they'll finally figure out that 5G thing. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Come on, where you at, Dave?
To loped out something.
Yeah.
Today's pro tip is brought to you by OptionsPlayers.com. Now, trading is not easy. Well, it's not easy for those that don't have a system to lean on. Today's pro tip is this: get yourself a system. OptionsPlayers.com offers tons of courses with systems to trade that can fit every ability and even your schedule.
Yeah.
When you trade within the parameters of a fundamental system, you can cut out your emotions and noise that can cause losses. Instead, systems will provide reasons and plans that you can comfortably act upon. We really believe that deploying a system will help you stack your gains, and we look forward to hearing from your results. Like DHAG31 here with this Green Goose system trade. 45% on the Green Goose.
Okay.
Woohoo!
Okay, here's the deal. You can always email us, hit us up on social media, What's Next Wall Street, or you can also comment on our YouTube page, or of course, email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com. So this email comes from Doug L., who emailed us at OptionsPlayers.com. Doug writes, can you explain the process of determining support and resistance levels in a given stock? Okay, this is what we have Greg for. Greg, you there? We need an answer.
Yes. So on support and resistance, when it's support and resistance, you're really talking about technical analysis, and technical analysis comes down to market psychology. So kind of like human behavior, where other people might buy or sell something at. And in this, whereas for support and resistances, the main things are going to be like trend lines. So just think about it like connect a dot at the top or the bottom, your moving averages, and then price points. So like past highs or past lows. It could be historically, or it could be high of the day, or, in the past year or so. But normally people are going to be looking at it from a moving average or a trend line or a price point to make that market psychology. That's the major role traders are going to use. And that's where they expect the price to react, right?
Okay, cool. So you see how simple that was for him?
Yeah, he
super
just had it in the back of
simple.
his head.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I could have never answered it that way. Okay.
Well, our next email comes from Michael B. from OptionsPlayers.com. And Michael says, I was pig-headed and held on to a long position beyond the suggested 10% loss. What are some repair strategies you could suggest, both for common stock as well as for long-dated options, those greater than 6 weeks out? Greg, does Michael have a chance here to recover from these losses?
Yeah, no, not in that one trade. And the reason is you already lost the trade. So you thought something was going to happen. You probably had a plan to sell if you took a 10% loss, or sell it when you made, say, 20%. Whatever your plan was, you let it pass and you screwed yourself in the end. And then the worst thing about it is whatever your strategy was, by not sticking to it, now you can't learn from it. And the only thing you're going to learn from it is you didn't follow your plan. So like everything, if you continue to follow the same plan over and over, you can refine that plan and do some analysis and adjust it. And when you don't follow your plan, it's really hard. Now, are there ways to recover from a long-term play? Yeah, say if you're in an iron condor and it runs against you, there's ways to, adjust that condor to limit your loss. But in the end, that's a whole new trade. So I can't help you if you've already, basically lost it for yourself, honestly.
Wow. Can you imagine coming home to Greg as your child, like, Dad, what do you know? You screwed up. Now you can't do it. I'm sorry. You're not going to the party. No, the answer is no.
But Greg would never call his kid pig-headed.
No, he would not. He would not. By the way, we talked about iron condors in a different show. So we have like just a plethora of information in our show. So just,
We'll put the link to it in the notes here.
Yeah, sure.
On YouTube.
All right. So listen, if you have a question, we can answer it or we'll find someone who can. So all you got to do, hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street. You can do it in the comment section of our YouTube page at OptionsPlayers.com or email us at www@OptionsPlayers.com.
So when you purchase cryptocurrency, you can keep it online in a hot wallet or offline in what is called cold storage. Now, online wallets are easy to get access to, not only for yourself, but potentially for hackers who may find vulnerabilities within the site or the exchange and take that money from you. Now, putting the currency or these tokens on a hardware wallet, they have their own issues. That being, you could lose the physical device or worse, forget the PIN number that you use to protect what is stored on it. My longtime friend Joe Grand, an early hardware hacker and former teenage phone freak, which means getting free phone calls back before they were free and unlimited. He was a member of Loft? Is that right, Joe? Loft Heavy Industries, and founder today of the Grand Idea Studio. Now, he was hired in 2021 over the summer from a man who had forgotten his PIN number and lost what had become $2 million in cryptocurrency. Joe, welcome to the show and tell us about your digital legitimate hacking adventure.
That's right. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you. We go way back together. So, I grew up as a hacker. So when people contact me all the time with questions, can you hack this? Can you do that? I received an email from somebody who said, hey, I have a hardware wallet that I bought some cryptocurrency years ago. And it turns out I don't remember the PIN, and now the value is worth $2 million. Can you help? It was actually like a pretty well-written email. So I'm like, all right, this maybe isn't a scam. So I arranged a Zoom meeting and met up with this guy, and it turns out, yeah, he was legit. I was intrigued because I love learning new skills and kind of solving puzzles. And this was one that was intriguing to me. I wasn't traveling at the time, and I was at home, and it was just the perfect timing. So really, I kind of have some pieces to show, like, this is what he had. This is a Trezor 1 hardware wallet.
And that's connected via USB to your computer. There's a little display on it to show like the padlock or whatever. And
so there's the USB connection. There's a display. So that's going to show you the address of who you're sending to, or if your money on here. And it basically stores your private key on here. So you need physical access to this in order to initiate your crypto transactions and things like that. So there had been some known attacks against this Trezor device before. There are various different versions of firmware for it. And every time a vulnerability gets discovered, Trezor will update the firmware and patch that problem.
So this is the same thing that happens on your MacBook, right? You get an update to fix Safari or fix the OS, right?
Exactly. Same. It's a cat and mouse game, right? So anytime somebody finds a security vulnerability, a good hacker, so assuming they publicize that or they work with a vendor to fix it, hopefully the vendor fixes that problem and makes it more secure for future users.
Which sucks for you as a hacker, because now you can't fall on those old methodologies, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So every time a problem gets solved, then you have to say, okay, how was that patched? Can I still attack that? Do I have to find a new vector? In this case, and with everything, really, not everybody updates their devices. And for the one that came to me, it was running an old version of firmware that was known vulnerable to certain types of attacks. So I figured, hey, the research is out there. I could just go and replicate this work and it should be easy. It's a hardware-based attack using something called fault injection, voltage glitching, where you're basically kind of causing a brownout in the microcontroller and the brain of the system to misbehave at just the right time to defeat security, and then you can do all this other stuff.
So this is like when you try and start your car and your car is going, it doesn't have enough voltage. And what you're saying is when the chip doesn't have enough voltage, it goes into another mode that's less secure.
Well, yes, if you time it just right at the exact time during the boot cycle and all of these different kind of technical parameters, if you get that right, you can effectively reduce the amount of security, and then from there take advantage of some other problems in the code to extract the recovery seed. So I thought it was going to be easy to do, and it ended up taking 3 months of time to perfect the attack to the point where it was reliable, not just giving a talk at a conference to show it, but to actually do it on somebody's wallet that had real money.
And so by the way, you can't do this on the legitimate wallet either. You have to do this on other wallets because there's a time bomb inside these too, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So this particular wallet, there's a PIN number associated with it. You can choose up to a 9-digit PIN. And these guys thought they had set a 4-digit PIN, but they actually had set a 5-digit PIN. So they had tried a bunch of times to unlock it, but there's a limit to the number of times you can enter your PIN before the information gets erased from the device.
Oh,
and they only had a
man.
few tries left. So they're like, forget it. We need to, solve this a different way.
So what'd you do? You bought a bunch of these devices, the same model number, you put the same firmware on them.
Yep. So I basically got a bunch of what I call reference devices. So I bought a bunch of legitimate Trezor devices, loaded the exact same version of firmware so I could try doing my attacks and prove to the owner that I could do this and I wasn't, just faking stuff.
That's right, because
So
he didn't have trust in you yet either. He knew you were an inventor or hacker, but you had to show that you could do this on a sample device. And you were probably doing it on a 4-digit PIN too, because that's what they all had in their head.
Well, it turns out that the attack that I'm doing doesn't matter what the pin is. It doesn't matter what the recovery seed is because I'm actually attacking the microcontroller itself.
Okay.
So I could set my own pin and set up a new wallet with a new key and then write that down and then prove when I was successful.
Oh, cool.
But there's a whole story about it. The Verge had an article and then I have a video that came out.
Dude, your video has more than 2 million views now. How cool is that?
That's right. 2 million views for $2 million. And that goes through the whole process. So you can actually see the real hardware hacking process and how long it takes to do the attack and how kind of nerve-wracking it is to wait for it to happen. And, I included my family in the video, which is not something I normally do, but it was really a family process because I was working on this for so long. And I would come inside and explain stuff to them. And they're not, hackers or technical or whatever, but they would listen and just let me kind of vent. So it was really it was a fun thing to do as a family, kind of in this still, lockdown kind of period over the summer.
Yeah, it was a perfect COVID experiment. And Keely, your wife, she's a lovely lady and definitely not technical. And your kids, did they get inspired to be hackers or legitimate hackers like their dad has become?
Not really. They love gaming, so they're into that. They understand what I do because they've been surrounded by it for so long. And I've introduced them to soldering and hacking and all of that. They've sat in some of my talks and my classes, but they're not really into it. But they thought it was cool, to see this. What I explained to them is with the fault injection, here's actually a version of the circuit board inside.
Yeah, so normally those little pigtail wires aren't on there. So you had to go through what would be called like a JTAG adapter, which is how they put firmware on early devices. Or tell us what you did.
Yeah, so basically there's two different versions. And when I was getting this set up, what I was explaining to my son is I said, I'm trying to glitch this at just the right time to defeat security. And he's like, so it's like a video game, right? When you hit the buttons at the right time and maybe somebody finds some weird bug you can do. So that's basically what I'm doing. So this is the hardware that's inside. And it's a microcontroller, general purpose microcontroller with some buttons and a display and the USB connection. So after all of my research and, figuring out the best attack, I had to basically instrument the board with a bunch of connectors on the side and another little connector here. And essentially these connectors go to what's called a serial wire debug interface, which is a JTAG type of interface, which is an industry standard debug interface to allow you, if you have access, to connect to the microcontroller.
Yeah, maybe
read
put new
memory,
firmware on it or load some, but this is done by the engineers that make the product, not guys like you at home.
Exactly. Yeah. So that interface is used for development usually. Anything engineers can use to develop a product, we as hackers can use also. So it just happened to be connections on the board that were accessible. Even if they weren't accessible, I could still solder to the pins of the chip. But I was using that as a way because when the security is enabled, you're not allowed to use that debug interface, even though the physical connection is there.
They lock it
the chip
out.
won't respond. So by glitching, by causing that brownout to happen at just the right time, I can trick the chip into saying, oh, there's no security, and downgrade to the next level, which then gives me the debug access I need to then go read the recovery key that had been placed into a certain memory area inside the chip. So it was a very wild attack to go through, and a lot of different pieces of hardware and a lot of different pieces of code. It's like magic, and seeing it work is like every time. Even today, I'm still doing some glitching experiments right now, and it's just every time I do it, it's such a trip.
It's so cool. Well, I watched your video, and we'll put a link in the video in the show notes here. It was so cool to hear it say. We'll talk about what the message was real quick. This was clever. When it unlocked.
So one of the things during the attack process is you're basically trying lots of different attempts over and over again.
And that's power cycling and injection at the right time. The boot up happens.
Yeah. So all of these things happen that we're basically waiting for. And I set this wide range of parameters because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss the right spot of where we were glitching. So I had set a little thing on my in my code. So when there was a successful hit, it would actually say through the text-to-speech program on the Mac, "Hack the Planet," which of course is a throwback to the 1990s era hackers movie.
Yeah, old
and
school.
It was cool, "Hack the Planet." And when you hear that, it's like we jumped up and down, and we're super excited about it.
Hey, Joe, speaking of the 1990s, didn't you and your friends visit the Senate? What was that about?
Right. So a very young Joe Grand. In 1998, I was part of a hacker group called The Loft, which was 7 of us basically in a clubhouse experimenting with electronics and hardware and software and networks and hacking on our on things that we had. And then we would help the public or help vendors. I notify them of problems and hopefully they would fix them or help them get fixed. But yeah, sort of sharing the good side of what hackers can do. And we got invited to testify in front of the Senate, which was basically the government wanted to know what could 7 essentially kids doing on nights and weekends, what could they do against government infrastructure and satellites and banks and all these things, because the internet was so young back then that nobody really expected it to be what it is.
Yeah, Amazon was only selling books then.
Yeah, right, and Jeff was probably manually packing them.
Yeah.
But we were the first 7 people to testify in front of Congress with fake names that weren't in the witness protection program, which I thought was kind of cool.
And my favorite of this Senate hearing was you guys were in front of a senator. The senator said, "Now, is it true you could take down the internet?" And without breaking a smile or a chuckle, you guys are like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, so that was something that Mudge said, one of our guys, that any of us could take down the internet in 30 minutes. And his concept is basically because of the way that BGP routing works and some of this low level kind of internet architecture stuff. I would never say that I could do it, but he could do it, and some of the other guys could. And when we saw Facebook go down recently, that was exactly that same problem, the BGP routing issue. So really, nothing has changed except more people have gotten involved in computers. And the internet has gotten, we're relying on it even more than before.
Yeah.
But a lot of these core problems remain. And it was crazy as like a 22-year-old kid to go there and do that was pretty cool. That was also my first time speaking in public, which was a little bit scary.
Yeah, and our departed friend Dan Kaminsky was working on a lot of these problems with DNS, which has tons of vulnerabilities to this day.
Yeah.
So, you're bringing back such good old memories, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, I see you put up a crypto hacking website. Is it offspec.io?
Yeah. So, one of the things we thought would be fun after doing this process is like, maybe we should offer these services to other people who need help. So we put up a temporary website. It's not the greatest looking, offspec.io. And we've gotten hundreds of emails already of people who need help or they've been scammed and all sorts of things related to cryptocurrency, which is fascinating. We can't help with all of them, of course, but there's some really interesting cases. And it seems like cryptocurrency isn't going away, whether you like it or not. It's kind of here, and it's changed the way that kind of technology and computing and finance is happening.
That's so cool that you're into this. I love the re-enthused vigor towards hacking. And what I love most about it is you're not going to go to jail for this. You're going to get paid. So speaking of that, how much did you make on that $2 million? You got a bounty, right?
We'll say it was a fair amount.
Okay.
It was worth the effort.
All right. Hey, Joe, good to see you, my friend. Keep up the good work. And we'll check in with you in the future and see what other magic you're unlocking there.
For sure. Thanks again for having me.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
So maybe it's not all about non-fungible tokens. Maybe, just maybe, it truly is, as the great philosopher Sean Diddy Combs once said, all about the Benjamins. What? Okay, I'm going to stop. Kind of. A silver dollar in great condition made back in 1794 has been sold for a record $12 million. Rare coin experts believe it's the first ever silver dollar minted by the U.S.
What a fool. That thing was only worth $1.
The Vegas business exec who sold it bought it himself back in 2013 for over 10 million bucks and exhibited it across the US and Europe. Now, because of its sharp detailing, researchers think it was specially struck by the US Mint. So possibly to commemorate the country's first dollar coin. This is so cool.
$1.
Yes,
Those
you're right.
fools.
Yes. Now, it was bought by Great Collections Coin Auctions in Irvine, California. But did you see this? I know Dave did because he loves cars. It's not a Porsche, but it's close. Not really. I just said that to get your attention. Do I have your attention?
You have my attention now.
Okay. All right, good. All right. So, a 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am given to Burt Reynolds for his work on Smokey and the Bandit is off the market. The car sold for just under $500,000 at the Scottsdale auction. Dave, I know you were just there. Dave, when I say Dave loves cars, I'm saying he loves cars to like the 20th degree. I know you were at the Barrett Jackson auction in Scottsdale recently. Did you see it?
I did. They actually had two of those there. Now, these are the black TAs with the gold Firebird on the hood and the clover wheels with the gold trim on them. Now, this Trans Am was gifted to him by General Motors, and it was driven on screen in the film, and it even has his signature on the glove box.
Love it.
Now, with the two of them that I saw the show, I even saw some other cars that were licensed Eleanors, for those of you who know what that means. And a lot of these cars are signed, which means the price goes up.
Yeah, so wait, you got to see this. If you don't know, look at this scene with he and Sally Fields. Watch this.
I think it'd be a good idea if we change places, don't you?
Yeah.
You kind of be a passenger for a while now.
Yeah.
Up. I just kind of slide right.
Oh, you got my hair.
It's all right. Just slide right under.
Ooh, I don't know. Wait.
I got it.
Wait.
I got it.
Wait. No.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
All right, pull it.
Okay.
Stuck here.
Wait.
This is not working.
I got my phone.
No, come on, it's not. God damn it.
Y'all,
amazing.
I could watch that. I gotta watch Smoking the Bandit with my kids. I mean, look, we're laughing at this scene. Do you know how old that was? Oh my gosh, I love it. So this kind of stuff has me thinking, right? Less about what the whole world is thinking about, though. With all the money that was made on Wall Street over the last 2 years, plus everybody excited about crypto and NFTs, is this the time to invest in real tangibles like actual coins, like sports cars that you can actually hold in your little grubby hands, art that fits into a frame on your wall, cool cars that you can see in your garage? So Greg, if I've got $500,000, should I invest in a cool ass Trans Am or a bored ass ape NFT like the one rapper Eminem just purchased? Look at this. I mean, is that worth $500,000? I mean, I'm not trying to sound like an old person, but I would much rather have that Trans Am, seriously. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. What should I invest in? I got $500,000. What do you think?
Well, I think I'm with the Trans Am with you too, but that's just me. Now, with NFTs, for example, your Bored Ape. Yes, he did purchase one for about $500,000, and some of them are that price, the more rare ones. But you also have to think of what that NFT was when it was minted. I think you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. You probably might know this better than I do, Dave. But to mint one, it was about 0.08 ETH. And at that time, it was just under $200 to mint a Bored Ape. Now, you had to get whitelisted to get that. So I think if you could get whitelisted on some of these good NFT projects that are coming out, then I would purchase a bunch of NFTs. If you're already going to pay $500,000 for an NFT, how many people can actually sell that? And now when I say that, everybody's going to be like, oh, they got NFTs. Go find out how many NFTs sold for $500,000. And then think about the millions and millions of NFTs that are already out there. And you'll realize that the odds are the NFT that you purchase for $500,000 will be the last time that thing sells for $500,000.
So
Oh my
Greg's
gosh.
right. A lot of
He's
these,
so right.
they had this run up, and the Bored Apes, as he said, they were around $200. Then they went to $2,400. They hung there for a while. Now, what's unique about the Bored Apes, and we've got a show where Angela talked about her art that she generates from her Bored Ape NFT, but she said it's all about the community. So we'll link that to the YouTube Options Players page here below us as well. But you got to wonder, like, the audience for these things. Now, that TA from Burt Reynolds, it sold in the past for a little bit more money. So it actually sold for a little bit less this time around.
Yeah, but still, I mean, are you serious? What I would do is have that video looping in my house. I mean, come here, let me show you what I got in the garage here. I just, I'm old school.
I love
Give
your
me
style.
the Trans
And,
Am. Give me the
Georgia, I've
Trans
got a
Am.
couple old 911s I might want to interest you in. I know
I'll
you've
bet
got
you
some
do.
modern Porsches. I think we get some old ones in your garage. Hey, what a great show. This was amazing. One of my
So much
favorites.
fun.
We want to thank lead instructor at Options Players, Greg Krause, for being here with us today.
And remember, if you've got questions, we can help you answer them. Or if there's a topic you want us to cover, just let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com. Hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street or in the comments section on our YouTube page.
You can, of course, watch episodes of What's Next Wall Street on the Options Players YouTube page or listen on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. As always, make sure you share our show. It's going to make you look so much smarter to your friends.
That's right.
I'm Dave Mathews.
And I'm George Alfredas. See you next time on What's Next Wall Street.